Have you ever stepped into your yard and noticed a mound of fresh earth that wasn't there yesterday? A pile of soil near the garden edge, the fence line, or under the deck with a hole big enough to swallow your foot? You probably figured it was a groundhog and grabbed a shovel or called someone to deal with it. The damage is real. The holes are real. But there's something working underground that most people never consider before they fill that burrow, and removing it can trade one visible problem for several hidden ones. Meet the groundhog, also called the woodchuck or the whistle pig, which sounds like a nickname someone invented to make it less threatening, and it kind of worked because people underestimate this animal constantly in both directions. Marmota monax is the largest ground squirrel in North America, built low and wide, with grizzled brown fur, short powerful legs, a broad flat head, and orange-yellow incisors that are always growing and always need wearing down. That last detail matters more than it sounds. It's not gnawing your deck out of spite. Those teeth are biological tools that require constant use, and the groundhog has no option but to use them. The animal you're looking at is a diurnal herbivore, most active mid-morning and late afternoon, gone underground when it's dark. It doesn't cache food. Everything it needs for a winter hibernation that can last from October into early spring gets stored as body fat before it disappears. That means from late spring through early fall, it is eating constantly, and it is almost certainly eating near an active burrow entrance because it almost never forages more than 50 to 150 feet from a quick escape route. So if you found one in your yard, it has a primary burrow somewhere close, and that burrow is doing something to your property that has nothing to do with damage. A groundhog burrow isn't a random hole. It's a structured excavation that can run up to 25 or 30 feet, reach 5 feet below the surface, and include separate chambers for sleeping, hibernation, and waste. One animal moving into your yard displaces somewhere between 35 and 50 pounds of subsoil. In compacted suburban soil, the dense, hard clay that sheds water and suffocates root systems, that displacement creates something you'd pay a landscaper to achieve. The tunneling aerates the ground. Rain actually infiltrates instead of pooling or running off. Plant roots reach deeper. If you've ever had a section of lawn that stays soggy after rain while the rest drains fine, and then it gradually starts draining better over a season, there's a reasonable chance something was burrowing nearby. That sounds like the kind of fact that should make you feel better about the hole in your yard. But there's another layer here that most people never reach because they've already filled the burrow and moved on. When a groundhog abandons a burrow, whether it moved on naturally or was removed, that tunnel doesn't just sit empty, it fills up. Quickly. Foxes use them. Skunks use them. Rabbits move in within days. Salamanders shelter in the chambers. Snakes overwinter in the deeper sections. Small owls have been documented nesting in abandoned groundhog tunnels. The structure that you're looking at as a problem is functioning as critical secondary habitat for species that either can't excavate their own shelters efficiently or don't have the energy to waste doing it. Remove the groundhog, and you haven't removed the wildlife. You've removed the one animal whose engineering created the housing, and now those other species need somewhere else to go. Sometimes that somewhere else is directly under your shed, your deck, or your crawl space, in places with no obvious entry point that you can identify and block. That is the real reason. Not sentimentality, not a general ecological principle. A specific chain of consequences that starts with an animal you can see and ends with animals you cannot. Now, none of that means the groundhog is safe to tolerate everywhere. The danger is real, but most people misunderstand when, why, and how it occurs. A burrow entrance alongside a garden path is a trip hazard and a lawn equipment problem. Mower wheels drop into those openings without warning. A burrow running directly against a foundation, retaining wall, or concrete support is a structural concern that cannot be ignored, because the soil displacement that helps drainage in the open yard becomes undermining when it contacts masonry. And groundhogs are documented rabies vectors. The transmission rate to humans is extremely low according to CDC data, but any bite requires medical evaluation and contact with local health authorities. That's non-negotiable, regardless of how healthy the animal appeared. If you've made it this far and found something that actually changed how you see the animal in your yard, that's exactly what this channel is for. revealing what really lives around your home and what it's actually doing. Subscribe if that's useful to you. Now here's the mistake that brings the groundhog closer to your house and makes every problem worse. People try to fill the burrow. They pour gravel in, tamp it down, sometimes add ammonia or mothballs because they've read that somewhere. Here's what actually happens. The groundhog digs around the fill. Ammonia and mothballs are not registered wildlife repellents, and at the concentrations that reach a burrowing animal underground, they don't reliably deter anything, but they can be toxic to pets walking over the treated area and can leach into surrounding soil. The animal does not leave. It just shifts the burrow entrance somewhere you haven't checked yet. There's also a myth that groundhogs are aggressive and will come after you. They won't. The loud whistle they emit when alarmed, the reason for the whistle pig name, is a warning signal directed at other groundhogs, not a threat display toward you. The teeth chattering is the same, a stress signal, not a setup for a charge. Every documented bite involves a person cornering, trapping, or directly handling the animal. At a distance, the groundhog's entire defense strategy is speed back to the burrow entrance. The problem is that people try to chase it, block the hole, or use a short tool to force it out, all of which eliminate the escape route and guarantee the defensive bite they were trying to avoid. Do not assume that because an animal looks slow, it won't reach you. Do not let a dog investigate a burrow entrance. A groundhog in a confined space with no exit bites hard, and a bite to a pet requires veterinary evaluation for the same reasons a human bite does. If a groundhog is working a burrow at your property's edge, away from the foundation, away from the vegetable garden, somewhere the hole isn't a tripping hazard, the realistic answer is to leave it alone and address the attractants rather than the animal. That means fencing the vegetable garden properly, because leafy greens, beans, and brassicas are the primary reason a groundhog migrates from an edge burrow toward a structure in the first place. Hardware cloth buried 12 inches deep and bent outward in an L shape stops them from burrowing under specific structures without trapping an animal already present inside. Clear brush and dense ground cover within a few feet of your foundation. It makes the area less attractive as a starting point. If the burrow is already against the foundation, that's a job for a licensed wildlife control operator who knows how to confirm all animals have vacated before any exclusion goes in. Many states also restrict where and whether groundhogs can be legally relocated. So check with your state wildlife agency before assuming any option is available. Walk back to that fresh mound of earth in your yard. At the beginning of this video, it was a hole, a problem to be filled, a nuisance to be removed, a property liability. It's still all of those things if it's in the wrong place. But it's also an aeration system working inside your compacted soil, a drainage channel that cost you nothing, and a structure that several other species are already watching, waiting to move into the moment it goes empty. The groundhog isn't a contractor you hired. It has no interest in your lawn or your drainage. It's just doing what it evolved to do, and the consequences land in your yard whether you wanted them or not. Here's the question. If you found a groundhog burrow in your yard right now, not against your foundation, not inside your vegetable garden, just at the edge of the property, would you fill it, fence around it, or leave it alone? Tell me in the comments what you'd actually do. Because something may already be living in the burrow you walked past this morning, and it may not be the animal you saw go in.